Hi, and welcome to Florida's Great Northwest at the Cox studio here. It's good to have you back. I'm your host, Larry Sassano, and I'm president of Florida's Great Northwest. I'd like to take this opportunity for this show to thank the Cox management for allowing Florida's Great Northwest this opportunity to have a monthly regional economic development show. We covered many issues, most of them economic development related, about the local economies in our 16 county area. And I also would like to thank two gentlemen that have really guided me through these TV shows and given me good direction. And that's Sean Flynn, who's the producer director for our show, and of course Jerry Hamilton, the video engineer. Thank you both for accommodating me and Florida's Great Northwest. Regional economic development is something that is not uncommon in the world, particularly in the United States. In Florida alone, there are 6 regional economic development organizations. We are one of 6. And we cover 16 county area, from Jefferson County to the east to Escambia County to the west. So what do we do? And I think when I'm giving talks to civic groups or business groups around the area, one of the questions I always get asked is, what's the difference between the Regional Economic Development Organization, Florida's Great Northwest, and the local economic development organizations and Enterprise Florida, the state organization? How do you work together? Well, we work together as a team. That hasn't always been true, but today it is. We have a great relationship with our 16 economic development organizations in Okaloosa County, Santa Rosa County, Walton County, Escambia County. All the counties, we work together, but specifically what our organization does, Florida's Great Northwest, is to work with recruiting companies, targeted industries, if you would, particularly in aerospace, aviation, also with information technology, life sciences, logistics, and of course advanced manufacturing. These particular industry sectors seem to match up well with the different counties that we have in this region. This is a diverse region. It's been fun. It's been great working the relationship the way we have with the local EDOs. So we put together a lot of the marketing information and trips for our EDOs for them to attend. They're members of my organization, the state of Florida, Enterprise Florida. We work with them as a team in the same manner. They have a bigger picture. They cover 67 counties. But we've been able to work with many of their marketing and project handlers in a very great manner that has made it more effective for our region to excel. And we are excelling in terms of growth and diversification, which are very important for our region. I recognize a lot of individuals in this region for what they do and how they help our organization and how we're able to help them. One other question I get asked before we go into our interviews is this: how do you measure your success? Well, if you're a local economic developer, you measure success by announcing a project, either an expansion or a retention or a recruitment of a new industry to your community. We don't do that. We partner with our EDOs. If they have an announcement, there's a good chance we were part of that at some stage of that project handling. But we want them to take the recognition, because they're the ones that are seeing that project to the end, to making it a success. We're there to guide them and identify the companies that are most important for them to work with. So it's a great process. Everybody has a role. I've enjoyed this. I've enjoyed being part of the Cox network, and we've had some great guests. We're going to highlight some of those guests today. The first guest I'd like to highlight are two gentlemen that I've gotten to know well, worked with, and respect deeply. and that's Stan Connally, President, CEO of Gulf Power Company, and Allan Bense, who's a partner at GAC Contractors and past Florida Speaker of the House. These two gentlemen put together a particular program a few years ago, and they called it at that time Northwest Florida Regional Skilled Tech Supply Task Force. Well, that's a long title. It's hard to fit on a business card. They changed that to Northwest Florida Manufacturing Association, and it covers 12 counties. What is the purpose of this? Purpose was to take all different types of manufacturers from different industry sectors and see what their common needs were, and to identify ways to train people, employees, for them, whether they were in the aerospace industry or they were in the shipbuilding industry. They had a lot of common needs. These two gentlemen put together a very successful task force. So I want you to hear some of the questions I asked both of Stan Connally and for Allan Bense, and see what you think of this. How did this come about with you and Allan in terms of developing this task force? We're going to call it the Northwest Florida Regional Skilled Technician Supply Task Force.
Sure. Well, Larry, thank you for having us on. It probably was the convergence of several conversations and efforts going on across Northwest Florida that started this conversation. I've been here about 9 months, and certainly from a selfish perspective, skilled technicians mean a lot to Gulf Power Company as we serve our customers. But as I have been out talking to our customers, it became pretty clear that a number of our manufacturing customers were continually in the market looking for skilled technicians. That's electricians, welders, instrument controls technicians, those kinds of jobs. And an opportunity to bring a number of manufacturers together with economic development professionals to talk about where we go from here on that piece of our workforce, it seemed like an important conversation for us to have. And then Allan and I talked about it from his role in the Bay EDA, and I think they had a similar interest.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and Allan, you seem to have developed a quick relationship with Stan in terms of building this. I mean, boy, you just started running, both of you, with this task force, and it's on a quick response type of a mode right now, and 4 meetings already under our belt, and in a short time frame. And I know you want results, and you're both result oriented. But let's talk about the makeup of this task force, how you structured it. You've got industry leaders, as you mentioned. Then you have colleges, universities, and school systems involved. And you've got the industry leaders are very important, and the EDOs and the workforce boards. Now, why that particular mixture of folks?
Well, we really wanted all the players in the game to participate. We can't attract skilled technicians unless we have good cooperation between everything from pre-K through 12 in education, our colleges, our universities, our workforce boards, and the EDAs and EDOs from Panama City all the way to Pensacola and other groups. So, and we also have a couple of politicians that are part of the steering committee, Senator Gates and Representative Petronas.
That's right.
So we have a great, a diverse group of folks, but the most, to me, the most important group that we have is industry. We have some folks that run manufacturing companies. They're there every single day trying to find out how they can improve their workforce, find skilled workers. And frankly, if nothing else comes of this, and a lot will, but we now have manufacturers in Bay County who've become friends with manufacturers in Escambia County, and they're beginning to exchange ideas. But I think we're going to have some really, really neat things happen when this is all over. And you are right; it's been a very fast pace. I think Stan and I only began back in February, meeting with the Workforce Florida folks in Tallahassee. And by the way, I want to give a pitch to them. They helped fund this program. Yes. They saw the vision of a united Northwest Florida team trying to improve its workforce. So between that and in April, I'll bet Stan and I have met 7 or 8 times, including meetings with the steering committee and task force. So we're putting the time in, and we expect great results.
I hope you enjoyed Stan and Allan's responses to the questions that I asked them. We're very proud of these two gentlemen. They do a lot for Northwest Florida. My next guest that I'd like to highlight is Darwin Gilmore, Dean of the Workforce and Economic Development at Chipola College, and John Gardner, who's the automotive instructor. This is a neat program that they put together there called Tech Garage. The Tech Garage program is about training students and getting them certifications to learn how to work on automobiles. Now that sounds okay, but you know, it really is a great program because it has gotten national recognition. Because you'll see when you see the clip and the questions that I ask and the response from John Gardner, how you're seeing the shop where they actually do the training, working on automobiles, and guests can call in and from wherever in the country, 140 million visitors, I guess, and they can ask questions about their automobile. And then John Gardner says, okay, I think this is the problem you have, and he'll take that actual similar car and he'll show them what the problem is that this call-in visitor has identified, and he'll show them how they fix that. Pretty cool. This program is ongoing, and so they're about to kick in another year of it, and we're going to be helping them as well. You see, as we go across Northwest Florida, there's all kinds of fascinating programs that are being developed by the local colleges and universities, the businesses. That's what made this show so much fun. So please join us and listen to what Darwin Gilmore and John Gardner from the Tech Garage talk about.
It actually started right here. He said industry business partnerships. I mean, you know, our program was successful and was nationally recognized due to these industry business partnerships from the get-go. We started out right here at Chipola. Royce Reagan asked me to do a TV show and get some information out to the public about automotive, and we took that and we just ran with it. Shopware, there was a need in this industry. I think a lot of the videos were outdated and some things were going on, so a producer in New York called Shopware, which is nationally renowned for all the training videos for automotive programs around the nation. And they actually contracted us. They said, well, listen, can you change it? Can you make some of this more interesting? Some of the multimedia, some of the way these kids learn. We had to adapt to it. I mean, you can't stand up there and lecture for 2 hours. I mean, that's not how it works anymore. These kids want that interaction. They want to move. They want to move from one thing to the next thing. So the videos had to do the same thing. So when we found that, we started doing them. We went down to Tampa and we filmed it with Britton Productions, which is Two Guys Garage and Truck U. And they took the lead role, and we went down there and we filmed these videos and put together a package of auto engine performance and brakes, and they sold nationwide throughout the whole nation for all the automotive programs. And through that, the feedback was, wow, I mean, you know, this is fast paced, it's moving, it's interesting, these kids are getting it. So once again, we just getting with industry and seeing what they needed, we were filling a void. And from there, it just snowballed. We got calls from Gates to do some training from them. We got calls from Castro, Oil. So we started forming all these industry partners as we're going along, Auto Value being a big one. And then what happened after that is, as more of these training videos got out there, Advance Auto Parts, which is now CarQuest and Worldpac, they're the largest parts manufacturer in the world, they said they saw some of the videos and they asked us, well, listen, we want to train all of our employees. How's the best way to sell parts is to educate our parts people on how the parts do, the functionality of the parts, and maybe even a little diagnostics on the parts. So what happened is we put together a 125 video set, and Chipola then jumped on board and said, hey, we can do that right here. So we started filming it right here with administration support, industry support, everybody just gathered around. Like Mr. Gilmore said, the 5 county areas, our dealership sent us cars, new technologies, new transmissions. I mean, just all the way from Pensacola down to South Florida. I mean, it was just endless how what people wanted to get in there and just fill this need, not so much just as far as filming and, you know, here's a product out there, but there's really a need. There's a need for this new technology, and there's need to reach these kids, or we're going to have this huge void in the workforce that we can't fill. I mean, our placement rate at the college is 98%. We can't even get them through the 1,800 hours, and these dealerships are taking them out there to work. So with that, we did the whole training package for Advance Auto Parts. Now that's nationwide. All their employees have to watch it, just like Walmart would go in as an orientation. They have to watch this and learn about parts. Well, they won a national award for their training and their workforce and their programs with this whole curriculum-based learning management system that they put in place in Advance. And that got out there too. And then Velocity called us up and says, hey, we need to do a TV show on that premise. It's the same thing. And, well, that's weird. An educational show on television, that really is not interesting. And it was. The method of it, we call it entertainment kind of education at the same time. We just make it real fast paced. So they approached us. They come down with a partnership with the college. They said they want to film it out of Bristol, Tennessee. And the college was very instrumental, said, no, do it here. And that was a huge marriage between industry and education and the Florida Northwest and everything that's going on, because now we have the vendors all coming here. So that's probably the ultimate goal of the show.
I hope you enjoyed John Gardner's response from the Tech Garage in Chipola College. They're doing some great things there, as they are throughout our university and college system. My next guest that I'd like to highlight is Neal Wade. Neal came to us from Alabama. I've known Neal for a number of years now, worked with him when he was running Florida's Great Northwest. But in his past role, Neal was the executive director for the Bay EDA. And so I brought a lot of talent and experience with him. I wanted to interview Neal because I wanted to ask him a specific question about Florida and how competitive we were in comparison to Alabama, where he spent most of his adult business life, and other states around us, such as Mississippi and Georgia. Neal has a wealth of information. I think you'll enjoy the response that he gave to the question I asked. And let's go to it now and see what you think.
Thank you and the Bay ED Alliance for helping to coordinate that trip we took to Orlando to meet with our partners, Enterprise Florida. That was a very, very good trip. Talk a little bit about that, if you would.
Well, we have to work with the state. I know in Alabama, when I was at the state level, we spent a lot of time with those local economic developers because that's our bread and butter.
Yeah.
Enterprise Florida has a much bigger state to deal with, and they have really a small number of project managers. They need more project managers.
They do.
And I think the important thing for us was we went down to sit down with them and spend a couple of hours talking about their strategy, talking about our strategies. How can we work closer together? How can you get to know our area better? Because they are the lifeline to a lot of projects that come into the state. They come through the state and then come to us. So we want them to know we're here so that we get our share of looks at projects.
Well, the feedback we got from them that day that we spent with them was tremendous. And I know that you are also promoting getting them up here to come, like you said, and look at our region a little closer. Some of them are new and they haven't been up here before. Like the consultants, like the companies, we need to get them to look at our area here a little closer in terms of the technology that we've got available to them.
Because there's so few of them, and because Florida's so big, and because it's so different. Northwest Florida is nothing like Miami.
Yeah.
And so it is important that we get them here so that they can see that we do focus on certain aspects of economic development that maybe Miami and Jacksonville and others don't focus on. So it's a tough job for them, but the only way they're really going to understand us is, as you say, to come up here and visit us and get to know us.
My next guest that I'd like to highlight is a good friend. I've known Greg Britton for quite a number of years. Greg's the CEO of Fort Walton Machining, and he's done a great job in overseeing this great precision machining operation. Greg and I have traveled extensively around the world, marketing aerospace and aviation companies. Greg has a great history. He's a superb engineer, and I'll tell you, he's a delight to have with you when you're calling on other CEOs with major aerospace and aviation companies, because they have questions regarding engineering and manufacturing process, which I don't have the answers that as precise as Greg has. So it's really come in handy on many occasions when we've been traveling to have Greg sitting next to me and validate a lot of the things that we want to highlight about the Northwest Florida region. So I hope you enjoy this question and answer from Greg Britton, good friend and a great manufacturing asset for Northwest Florida. I want to talk a little bit first about your CEO position with Fort Walton Machining and about the Fort Walton Machining. And if I may, I have a little summary here I wanted to just read. And the Precision Machining and Metal Finishing Manufacturing Company, been in business since 1987. It's a woman-owned small business, over 200 employees in Okaloosa County. Several noted performance achievements such as Boeing Supplier of the Year, Lockheed Martin Aeronautics Supplier of the Year, and 2010 Lockheed sponsored Department of Defense mentored protege program. And you've got a great list of certifications from AS 9100, ISO 9001. I mean, it goes on and on. I mean, you got a great company there that you're supporting, and tell us a little bit about what's going on right now in terms of your focus with Fort Walton Machining.
Well, the focus right now with Fort Walton Machining is diversification, as it has been with the defense and aerospace world, being sequestration and all that stuff you hear. We got really worried about that, and we've been trying to diversify over the years. And we started in the oil industry, back in 2008, trying to break into that market. Did a pretty good job of getting into the market. Now we have 3 oil industry customers. It's probably about 30% of our business right now. So we've dropped that down, and then we got another 10% commercial, and then 60% aerospace and defense. We also had some further diversification with our metal finishing division, as you well know, been through. It's a fabulous facility. Yeah. Anybody that goes through it, it's a state-of-the-art facility.
The next guest I'd like to highlight is Jorge Gonzalez. George is the Senior VP of Development for the St. Joe Company. Another really enjoyable gentleman that I've had an opportunity to work with, very stoic and a great presenter. Worked with George on a couple occasions, and he's really enjoyable to sit and listen to because it gives you a good background on whatever you're talking about. Anyway, St. Joe has been known to own a lot of property and market a lot of property and develop various projects of great magnitude throughout the Northwest Florida region. One of the projects that they have, and where they own quite a bit of land, is at the Port of St. Joe. This is a port that's being developed, but I think what St. Joe is doing is building that transportation infrastructure, because when you're dealing with a port, you're dealing with a rail line, you're dealing with road work, trucking industry, and air transportation as well. That entire intermodal works very favorably for us because what's happening with the Panama Canal, which will open and expand in 2016. But I think St. Joe's going to be a long-term picture for us in terms of helping us develop, particularly that particular section of Northwest Florida. So please enjoy the question and the response that Jorge Gonzalez gives from the St. Joe Company on this next interview. Well, let's talk about the something that I know that you get asked quite a bit, and that is what's happening. And I want to spend a little time on this because I think it's critical for this region to see what's happening with what St. Joe's doing at the Port of St. Joe. Now, we go in that area periodically to Mexico Beach and so forth because they have festivals, but the port itself being developed in the manner of which you're going to tell our audience is taking place. What are some of the obstacles that you're running across, and what has to be done, to really develop the port the way you see it?
Absolutely, thank you, Larry. And that's a project that's near and dear to my heart. The Port of St. Joe is something that's a very high priority for the company to get redeveloped and established. Yeah. And the company has had a long history with that community. As you and your audience may know, the company operated a paper mill from the 1930s to the late 1990s in Port St. Joe, so that we go way back in that community with our history, shared history. The property that we own, where the paper mill used to be located, is currently a brownfield. The project has been redeveloped. There was contamination and has been remediated. The property sits with a bulkhead, and it sits right next to a deep water channel that's federally authorized to 37 feet of depth. In addition to that, there's a rail connection that we own. We own the Apalachicola Northern Railroad, the company does, that connects that property to a CSX main line in Chattahoochee. It's a short line. It's about a 92-mile short line. So when we looked at just those ingredients alone, the history we've had in that community, the fact that this property is 180 acres and it's ready to be redeveloped for an economic development purpose. We looked at the adjacency to the Deepwater Channel, the proximity of rail. It didn't take us long to realize that there was some pretty good potential to reestablish a port type of operation on that property. One of the things that we did initially is partner with the Port St. Joe Port Authority. The Port Authority is one of the 15 designated port authorities in the state. They own approximately 100 acres right next to our property on the Gulf County Canal. And we didn't view it as competing with them. We didn't view it as trying to attract a different type of industry to the community. We figured the best way to do it is to do it as partners.
Right.
And we executed a series of agreements with the Port Authority to plan and try to attract a port operation.
One guest that I had to really tackle to get his attention because he's so darn busy is Gray Swoope. Gray was the former Secretary of Commerce for the state of Florida, President and CEO of Enterprise Florida. This man travels constantly, and what a great Secretary of Commerce and President of Enterprise Florida he made. He jumped right in there quickly. In this question, we talk about aerospace and aviation, and I think you'll enjoy Gray's response. Gray, this is a partnership. We think that what's happening, particularly with our focus on aerospace aviation with Airbus and the other OEMs in the region, that really Enterprise Florida, your organization has helped us to understand and work with certain projects that we didn't have a connection with. And it's working both ways, and we have a comfort level that we didn't have before. So I thank you for that because it is working.
Well, thank you. That's our job. The thing, but you just said it. So the beauty of a public-private partnership, Enterprise Florida, 501c3, not-for-profit corporation that can move and react to the market. All right, we have a market change right now. Airbus is going to be located, what is it, just a little over 70, 80 miles from here?
Actually,
maybe a little bit more.
Probably that, and about 51 miles from Pensacola.
Yeah, so, but you look from this region, that's something that's changing the market. So we can move resources inside of Enterprise Florida to react to the market. We just did that to support you guys on the mission, and it supports us. It's our state role as well. The office that we have in France has been there for quite a number of years. Laurent that runs that office does an excellent job.
He does, yes.
And he's there to work with the communities. And then to have somebody on staff in the Orlando business development team to work with you too, that's the beauty of having an organization that really, sometimes division walls need to be fuzzy. They don't need to be silos, and they need to be fuzzy. We're all working on the same team.
Well, that wraps up the highlights for the Florida's Great Northwest Cox TV show. I hope you enjoyed this, and hope to see you all soon somewhere in Northwest Florida. I've been doing this show now for a few years, and previous to that doing the Economic Development show. Enjoyed being here and highlighting some of the really great events taking place in this wonderful region. I lived here most of my life, and I plan on living here the rest of my life as well. It's a great place to live and work, and I'm very fortunate to have been part of the growth in some manner and helping to create some new growth for our region and for the people that live and work in this region. Thank you for joining us. Hope to see you soon. Thank you.